I'm Daniel Gross, and this is the number. The number today is $126 billion. That is the combined net worth of the people on the cover of the Forbes 400 issue. And if you add Randall Lane, who's the editor of Forbes, if you add his net worth into that issue, it's also 100 white.
100,000,001.
So this is obviously an iconic magazine, an iconic list, and really says a lot about America, our economy, who's up, who's down. Does the fact that you're highlighting philanthropy, does that tell us something about this moment we're in?
I think it absolutely does. I mean, we had a record year this year. The collective net worth of the Forbes 400 was $1.7 trillion. Average net worth $4.2 billion, and a minimum net worth, the number 400 was $1.1 billion. So you could be a billionaire and not be on the Forbes 400.
So Mitt Romney, who we think is worth maybe 250, 300, he wouldn't really even be on the Forbes, maybe 10,000.
We did evaluation and we came up with 240 million solid. And he wouldn't even be, I think that's about right, 5,000, 10,000 in there. So
now, one of the things we've seen in the economy over the last couple of years is if you are tied to kind of global growth, very big corporations, you're doing great. If you're tied only to domestic demand, not so much. If you are dependent on fixed income and interest for your money, not so hot. Is that showing up? Are those sort of dynamics showing up in the internals of this list?
What we're seeing in the internals is really, again, it's less about the macro and more about the entrepreneur. I mean, this is the 30th anniversary. And 30 years ago, you had a lot of this list was inherited wealth. 70% of the Forbes 400 is self-made, and a lot of them are young. I mean, we got a lot of people in their 20s and 30s on this list. So it's unbelievable, and it's an unbelievable statement about the dynamism of the American economy, that it's not, I mean, if you do this list in Europe, I mean, you still see those old fortunes and they're hard to move. And here, it's constantly churning and it's constantly, so it's less about where you're doing business. I mean, if you look at the top, the top of the heap, we got Bill Gates on top, Warren Buffett, Larry Ellison. I mean, these are great entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter what business that you're in. I mean, you look at Michael Bloomberg's in the top 10, the Koch brothers. We do have the Walton heirs. Who collectively, the 4 children of Sam Walton.
So it does show that inherited wealth, if it's big enough, can last. Are there any Rockefellers on the list anymore?
Are they? David Rockefeller's, but they've given away a lot of money too. But even if you look at philanthropy, again, because that we definitely wanted to highlight the idea that yes, the wealth is incredible, but there are a lot of people doing incredible things with this wealth to make the world a better place. And if you look at the top 2, look at Gates and Buffett, who are right on the front of the cover. These are people, and Warren Buffett is worth $46 billion, but he's pledged 99% of that money to charity. So he's really a public trust. It's still his. If he gave it away, we wouldn't count it, but it's still under his name. He's just said, as I get older, and right after I pass away, it'll all be given to the Gates Foundation.
You see
Bill Gates has already given $30 billion. He's number 1 at $66 billion. If he hadn't already given so much to his foundation, he'd be worth almost $100 billion. He'd be the richest man in the world if he hadn't given so much away.
And we see, with the Giving Pledge, this sort of group of families that are coming out and saying, we're going to give away half our wealth, that continues to grow. The fact that you highlight this on the cover, do you think this means that we are less likely to have the type of dynastic wealth 10, 15 years from now? Not that Warren Buffett's kids and Bill Gates' kids will not be insanely rich. But they may not be at the top of the list if their parents keep giving all that money away.
Listen, we had, for this issue, we said, instead of the list just being on paper, what if we got the 400 in one room to talk about philanthropy? So this philanthropy theme in this issue came out of an event we had in June where we had 161 billionaires and near billionaires in one room to talk about this. And you heard that over and over again. You heard David Rubenstein from the Carlyle Group. You heard Warren Buffett spoke very eloquently about this. Giving your kids billions and billions of dollars does not make them better people. It probably, that was the consensus, makes them worse people. And so Warren, for instance, gives his kids, he's given his kids each well over $1 billion, but not to them. He gave it to their foundations and said, you figure out a way to give your money away in a way that you want. He thinks that makes them a better person. And so yes, his children will not be on the Forbes 400.
Now we're in this political season. We have a lot of debate and discussion about wealth, 1%. What I find very interesting, and just taking a glance, you've got Oprah, Gates, Buffett, Pete Peterson, John Bon Jovi. I look at these guys on the cover, I only see one Republican on here. Does the list reflect that or not?
We did a calculation in 2010 of the Forbes 400 and where they give. It was about 15% more to Republicans than the Democrats. This year, it'll probably be a little higher than that. We're calculating that we'll actually have that next issue. That said, it's not as lopsided as you think. And while you only see one Republican, you don't see that many Democrats. A lot of these guys are post-political. You know, Warren Buffett obviously in the last cycle said he supports Obama, but Obama, he's not giving to Obama.
Right.
He's very solutions-oriented. Gates is solutions-oriented. These are not political people, and nobody on this cover is overtly political, and they're solutions-based. And I think if we had more of this, or with these titans who have power and wealth, saying, how are we going to solve the world's toughest problems instead of bickering, I think the world, frankly, would be a better place.
Okay, well, when those numbers do come out on the political giving, we'll be sure to highlight that because that's a very interesting topic. The whole issue, it's a nice fat magazine, Forbes 400. Randall Lane, thanks so much for coming in. I'm Daniel Gross, and this has been The Number.